Hello and welcome to Bear Football here on the Barroom Network. John Buffone alongside Tyler Gaines. Ellis Danny Shimon will be joining us in just a minute. The Bears fall to the Giants 20-12 in a game where the only times where it wasn't boring is when it was frustrating. So there are a lot of things to go over in this game, a lot of struggles, a lot just overall poor football against a other team that is also not that great. I think that's what probably made it very frustrating. This is a game that you should win. The Giants are not that good, but neither are the Bears, and they were exposed on a few fronts today. Gentlemen, let's go around the horn with some initial takeaways. Danny, since you just jumped in, we'll start with you. Initial takeaways of this game.
Yeah, like I said, it was just two bad offenses, two teams that are in a rebuilding stage that are just struggling to put points on the board. And at one point, the Giants came down with no quarterbacks. Both their quarterbacks got hurt, and they're just running wildcat, and they're kind of disappointingly they're kind of marching down the field and got themselves into field goal range, against this Bears defense. So, initially first half defense wasn't be able to do anything in terms of the run game. They made Daniel Jones look like Lamar Jackson out there. None of them were able to come down and set the edge there and play sound fundamental defense. And then the Bears, offensively, they made some progress today because, they had some nice drives. They're pretty decent on third downs. But unfortunately, again, we saw some throws where Justin just didn't pull the trigger on. The one that pops to the top of my head is the one to Cole Kmet in the flat. Kmet might not have scored, but he's a big guy. And there's a defender behind him. He could have broken a tackle. He could have at least gotten us closer to the end zone. The big thing, though, for me is offensively is that progress was made, but you can't keep getting field goals. You got to get into those red zones. You got to convert those into touchdowns. And quite frankly, Badger was a nice, a nice story today, kicking 4 field goals, but, it convert 2 of those into touchdowns and you come out a winner in today's game. So, progress is made, not enough yet. Still some work to be done, a lot of work to be done. In terms of the offensive line, in terms of Justin, in terms of the receivers. Dante Pettis had a big third down in his hand there, but a huge conversion, drops it. So, some good, some bad. Unfortunately, they come up short. But like I said last week, right, these are the games that the Bears could win and they could lose. Unfortunately, today, they lost.
Gaines, takeaways.
I'm just here so I don't get fined. Bears Nation, thank you guys for joining us. Let this be an indicator. This is why we're here. Win, lose, or draw, as tough as it is to talk about, we're going to be here with you guys every Sunday. And honestly, I can just echo everything Danny just said. But it kind of just such my personal reaction, John. It kind of sucks. I just feel like this coaching staff, our players, a little bit more prepared for situations like this. Especially seeing how the Giants looked inept to block the pass rush on Monday Night Football last week. You would have thought we would have took more advantage of it. Daniel Jones was like 5 for 9 with like 60 yards in like the whole first quarter to the second, almost to the halftime, and they just made us look like fools. Following for the bootleg, it was rather disappointing. Kind of took the wind out of me a little bit, and then I was happy to see Justin look like at this point I was looking for grit, attitude. Show me you want to be here. Show me that you still have command in this thing. And I was actually happy a little bit about Justin, the way he wanted to turn his hips and let the ball loose a little bit. But then was Justin not just going to take the sack but still trying to go downfield? But my instant reaction was it the coaches, John? Or Danny, or did the players just not respond? Because I was looking for, I'm like, do we really have to wait until halftime to stop the bootleg? Like, come on,
Yeah, I mean, they did eventually adjust to it, and Brisker, obviously, we saw I made a good play on that bootleg, but I think this is a frustrating game because you're always looking for that one big positive takeaway, and I'm not exactly sure what that is out of this game. If you just look over the box score, Justin Fields 11 for 22 for 165 yards. Khalil Herbert ran the ball 19 times for 77 yards. I guess you could say Mooney kind of came on the map a little bit with 4 catches for 94 yards. But Danny, you're right. It's great that Badgley's able to kick 4 field goals, but also it's kind of crappy that Badgley had to kick 4 field goals because you're hoping that at least 2 of those are able to turn into touchdowns. And that's a big difference in the game. And then you look for progress with some of your younger players. And once again, Kyler Gordon had a rough go of it. Brisker was out of position a few times, but made some nice plays. Velus Jones, who we were hoping to see see with the ball in his hands. The one time we get a real nice chance to see that, he fumbles the ball away. And so once again, you see just a really stagnant offense. And when the defense isn't making plays, then this is what you're going to see. And one of the things that I didn't like hearing was that Moose Johnson said it on the broadcast. He's like, Bears fans, this is what you're going to see for the whole year. I think he was trying to say this is the style they're going to play all year. But as a Bears fan, you're like, this is what I have to watch every week now. And so whenever the schedule gets a little bit tougher and they're not playing the Giants and they're not playing the Texans, and, they got the Jets and the Falcons still to come on the schedule, and they're probably going to get the Patriots without Mac Jones. But still, it's going to look worse sometimes. It's going to look worse than this at stages in the game or throughout the season. So, Danny, a lot of people harping on the play calling, but there were drops. You talked about the Pettis drop. There was that improv play where Justin Fields kind of scrambled towards the sideline, kind of dumped it off the end, dropped by
Wesco. It was a tight end Wesco.
Yeah. And so is it play calling or is it just a lot of ineptitude at some of the position players?
And I mean, I don't think play calling was the big deal here today, in my opinion, at least. I mean, I am surprised. I'm with Gaines there in terms of I thought the Bears would be able to run the ball on these guys today. Unfortunately, they didn't run. I mean, Herbert only had 19 carries of 77 yards, so I thought I was for sure he'd see him over 100 yards carries. But for me, it was some missed opportunities. We talked about Pettis. You talked about there with Wesco dropping that would have been a first down. So the opportunity to go ahead and continue to get that ball down the field and make some big plays and hopefully put some points on the board. But for me, it was the opportunities in the red zone, right? 4 times you get down there, might have even been 5 times, but you convert only 4 field goals, right? So this is where you got to convert those into touchdowns. You get those touchdowns there, and now now you're talking about a different ball game. So in terms of the play calling, if you want to kind of go back and say maybe they got a little more conservative once they got into their red zone, I could probably see that either way as well. But the offensive line guys, let's not forget about these guys. Inside, I know Lucas Patrick took over for Whitehair when he left the game. I mean, he had a rough game in terms of pass protection. He's pretty solid in terms of run blocking, but interior that pass blocking interior is really rough. And then a couple times those interior blitzes where the Giants brought 2 linebackers and they kind of played a stunt in the game. They looped them around. It looks like the blocking was a little confused there. Wasn't sure who they were going to pick up. A couple times they let one of the defenders come scot-free at Justin Fields. And again, I think he was sacked 5 or 6 times today. So again, another game in which we see a multiple number of sacks given up by the Bears offensive line. So now some of them very well could be, I have to look at all 22. Some of them very well could have been on Justin not getting rid of the footballs, but looks like a lot of them were bad pass protection, especially when those blitzes were coming up the middle of the field. And this is something we talked about last week real quick when we were kind of previewing this game versus the Giants. So Wink Martindale is known to be a very aggressive defensive coordinator, and that's what I was worried about in terms of what kind of pressure, what kind of schemes would he run against Justin, just kind of confuse him and the offensive line and the pass pros. So it got to him 6 times today. So that's something we have to look again. Something we got to keep talking about every single week is the pass protection, and something that needs to be shored up.
Gaines, what was your biggest disappointment in this game? There's a lot to choose from, but what stood out to you as something that you really thought was going to work out and just kind of fell flat?
Honestly, John, it was outside contained. I mean, as a defensive player, I mean, he's like, that's the one thing you don't give up. If they're going to run on, they're going to run on you. But it just made those bootlegs look a lot worse. I mean, we just couldn't find the ball.
Looks like we might have some connectivity issues there with Gaines, so we're hoping to get him back. But his point is well taken. That outside contain was pretty bad, and that run defense continues to be porous, especially against an elite running back like Saquon Barkley today. They at one point they didn't have an active quarterback or a functioning quarterback, and they were still moving the football. The fact of the matter is that you almost knew what was coming, and you still couldn't do anything about it. Gaines, you're back in. A little bit more about your disappointment with some of that contain.
My connection feels the same way about the containment. It's running away. It's just running away. But John, is this like with D gap presence? I mean, we couldn't find the ball. I mean, I understand he's a rookie, but like Brisker and then even some of our outside linebackers, just like when in doubt, be outside. That's like football. I'm trying not to get mad because it's over. They got paid anyway. But I'm kind of pissed, man, because I was like, yo, bro, guys, what are you doing? What are you doing? This was a winnable game. Once again, the Bears pissed down their legs when we had a chance to actually just you got to win ugly, and we've been winning ugly. So this was like tailor made for us. And so, but the number one thing I'm disappointed with, John, is that outside contain. I feel like we could have blasted Jones a lot.
Yeah, and there's a lot to look over this, and especially I'm trying to look at this holistically because I'm trying not to get too angry about a game against the Giants in a year where the Bears really don't have high aspirations. They're not going to make the playoffs, so I'm trying not to get too riled up about this. I'll probably be more pissed off tomorrow, but in the moment, I'm trying to be a little more holistic when I look at this. And this was a frustrating game because, like I said before, you're trying to figure out where the big steps forward are. You're trying to figure out where the big where most of the progress was made today against a bad team. The Giants are not going to the playoffs. The Giants are not winning the division. They're going to be very close with the Bears as far as record wise, probably for the rest of the season. So you're trying to figure out, this is against a team that is very similar in talent. And so what do you take out of this game? I'm trying to find a bright spot. I'm trying to find something to take out of this where it's just like, this is part of the rebuild. This is part of what we see whenever you're rebuilding a franchise. Okay, we saw flashes there. Nothing's jumping out to me. Danny, is there anything that's jumping out to you to say Bears fans can at least take this with? I hate moral victories, but is there anything you can take out of this?
Well, this might be called a stretch by you guys, but I'm gonna try and get something positive going here. So at least second half they came back and they made the adjustments and they did a better job in terms of containing those rollouts, and they played a better brand of defense in terms of setting a harder edge on the run defense. So I give them a little bit credit there. Second half adjustment for this coaching staff, and then for me again. I think Justin made some nice throws today. Those downfield throws to Mooney and some other plays he made in the pocket. I like though that's progress. Like I said, they had some sustained success in terms of drives getting into the red zone. Unfortunately, they just couldn't finish. So I do like that progress. But yeah, I mean, in terms of what's frustrating is like they could have won this game, and with a player here or there, they should have won this game. But that's the thing we're gonna have to deal with this Bears team, right? We talked about it every week. You can go into a game where you say, all right, they could beat Team X, or they could lose to Team X. And it's just a matter of, they don't have the offensive firepower to be able to have a bad series or a bad half and come back from it easily, right? Like, for example, the Eagles today were down 14-0 to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they were able to, weather that storm and come back and win that ball game. So, that they don't have that type of firepower, that type of offensive talent. So that's the thing, is like you have to be kind of playing at all gears, at all cylinders, from the start of the game all the way towards the end of the game. And again, I know he's a rookie and his first game today, but is Velus Jones a good option back there as a punt returner and a crucial point in the football game? Pettis might not be, the greatest punt returner, but at least he's a guy back there who'll catch the ball and secure it. And, could the Bears gone down and scored? Who hell knows? But at least gives yourself a chance, to offensively have at least one legitimate shot. So, you can kind of pick and choose here and there, but in terms of just answering your question, John, offensively, there was some progress in terms of making some plays down the field. Not enough, not nearly enough. Still saw a lot of bad things there, but there's some progress. And defensively, at least they saw what we saw in the first half, and they're embarrassed of what they were putting out there on the field. Made some adjustments in terms of that edge defense in the second half. And other than that, man, it's again, those might be stretches, but I mean, there's nothing really positive here. No one really kind of stood out in terms of an individual player. No one really kind of popped and said, all right, here, I've arrived, so on and so forth. So those are the only things I can see as positives.
You got any stretches of positivity, Gaines? Because we're looking for anything. Do you got anything?
I was, before the show started, I'm like, Tyler, what was positive I can talk about? I don't know. The number one thing is obviously experience, obviously game tape. And then I think is this realization. I made some bets early on in the season. It's a rebuild. I like it because at the end of the day, you just got to have peace with where we're truly at. You can't move forward until you know where you're at. And it's going to take time. I mean, we have some rookies in key positions. We have some young guys in key positions. And that's the difference is experience. You watch Andy Dalton, who hasn't started a game since he left Chicago, and go against the Vikings, and he almost pulled that game off lead, throwing the ball to multiple receivers. Andy Dalton just steps right in. But then again, John, you see Cooper Rush throwing passes, and so he's like, yo, why can't we do that? I know every situation is different, but I'm getting sick of the time the coach is saying every little part has to be perfect to do something so simple, which is complete multiple passes, which is why, Danny, I agree with you. It was cool to see Justin throw some passes. It was cool to see Darnell Mooney get aggressive, go get the ball. You shouldn't have to be 10 yards completely wide open to get a catch. And so that's the only bright spot is that we got our butts kicked, that it's film, and at least one thing next year, we won't have to look for another head coach. So it is what it is. Sometimes getting your butt kicked is good for you.
Yeah, I keep trying to separate myself because maybe I'm surprised my anger energy isn't as high as it normally is, but it's just not. And I'm trying to figure out why. And am I coming to acceptance that it's hard in the moment? Whenever you're watching the Bears play and they lose, you're angry when they lose, and you're like, we should have had that game. But for some reason, I think I'm coming to grips with what this season is going to be. And it's much as it sucks because you don't want to have to wait until September of 2023 to have hope about your team competing. But I mean, let's face it. This team was never going anywhere. They were never going to be a true playoff contender. This team, the roster as it's constructed, as the players are putting on the field right now, are not going to compete for anything in 2022. So we can retain some of that hope for 2023. But these are the ones that you want to win. You want to beat the Giants, who are at least on the same level as you. Whenever they play the Falcons later on, you want to beat those teams. You want to be able to beat the Jets when they have them coming up. You want to be able, if they are playing the Patriots without Mac Jones, you want to be able to win that game. So this is one of those ones where it's just like I'm irritated because it's like that should have been a win. Does it keep them out of is it the deciding factor of keeping them out of the playoffs? Absolutely not. But this is one of those games where it's just, they should have won this game. They had opportunities to win this game, and they didn't win. And I'm going through all the checklist. Okay, they didn't win. Okay, whatever. Didn't see a lot of progress offensively. Okay, defense looked lost for a little bit. Okay, that's no good. What the hell are we taking out of this game then? Like what exactly? What are you getting on the bus with to take home with you? And I still can't find anything. Danny, hopefully you find something on the tape throughout the week because I sure as hell can't see anything just watching the broadcast and then coming on and doing this show. So let's talk about Justin Fields a little bit more. They threw the ball 22 times in this game. They did have some down the field attempts. They did connect with Mooney down the field. 11 for 22 for 165 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. By the standard of the NFL, it's pretty blah, but for Justin Fields' stat line, it's one of the better ones. So what did they do anything different today, or did they just let him uncork it a few more times, Danny?
From the looks of it, again, not having seen the old 22s, it just looked like they just gave him more opportunities to get the ball down in football field. And I think I think Justin has to get to the point where now he's gonna have to start trusting guys, right? Like on that throw to Pettis, 3rd and 6. Pettis it was a great release, great, in terms of getting off the line of scrimmage. He beat the corner. And he had one-on-one coverage, and he just threw it up there, right? Throw it up there. Now, Pettis had the ball in his hands. That should have been a catch, a 3rd down conversion. Pettis drops the ball. But you got to keep going back to your players and give them shots. Basically, Justin has to learn. This ain't Ohio State anymore. These guys are not going to be 5, 6, 7 yards wide open. You just throw it up to a guy. You got one-on-one coverage. Trust your guy. Put the ball in the spot where, the guy can help him make a play. I think the little throw to the sideline there, near the goal line to St. Brown was another one where it was a back shoulder throw. He threw it in a spot where only St. Brown could get to it. And unfortunately, the defender, Moreau, made a great play to come across and knock the ball away. But I think that was also, again, Justin, Brown wasn't wide open, right? He had defenders in the area. But I think Justin realized he's got to throw it to a sideline, allow the little back shoulder, allow Brown to make a play. Fortunately, the defender made a better play. But I think those are signs where I could see him kind of trusting his guys downfield. I just kind of looking at Justin real quick here. It's like, he still just doesn't pull a trigger on the throws. And I talked about that play to commit in the flat in the first half. Just pull the throw, just throw it. I know your feet weren't set. I know it wasn't perfect in terms of mechanics, but you got to get the ball to the player there in the open field, and maybe he breaks a tackle, maybe it's a touchdown. Who knows? But and then there's times where again he just kind of steps back foot hits, and he does not release the ball. either he's like going one read and then he's not trusting his protection and he's just dropping his eyes from his progression and taking off, or just trying to move around and buy some time. So that to me tells me that he's probably just kind of little bit of shell shocked here a little bit. I mean, I don't know. I'm guessing right now, but again, just 1, 2, 3 looks like he looks at his first progression. It's not there. Drops his eyes from his rest of his progression. Just kind of just create stuff on his own, whether it's to run out, buy some time, or just to tuck the ball and go. So that's not the Justin Fields that obviously you want to see in terms of his growth process, right? You want to be able to see him sit back in the pocket, go through a full field progression. If he sees something that, right away, if his protection sucks, if he sees coverage, find your check down guy, find him, release him. If he's not there, get rid of the football. That's what he's going to have to go through. So we saw some positives, but again, we saw some of the stuff that has been kind of hindering him these first 3-4 weeks.
Gaines, that kind of led into my question for you. Do you think that is it a lack of protection or a lack of weapons that it could be forcing Justin Fields to get a little gun shy, to get a little hesitant, to not just unleash the throw when he sees it? Do you think that he could potentially be, because of his surroundings, be playing scared, or he's just not making the right reads? What are you seeing?
John, in my opinion, I feel like he's still just trying to be a great student. He's trying to be a good guy. He's trying to listen to his coaches. That's what he says every day in the press conference. And I believe, and it's a learning curve. I mean, what the fans want, we want to see something extraordinary. We want highlights. And truth be told, I mean, when you think about the Mahomes and all these other guys, they play outside the playbook. Something's breaking down, and then they make something happen. Well, we have a quarterback who's with the first-time head coach, and he's literally just trying to, you give me this play, I'm going to do it the best of my ability. John, you said it's something that I actually thought about during the game. I thought he was playing scared and as soon as I thought about it, he ran the ball. He ran the ball for a first down. I'm like, all right, cool, thank you. Just to show me that you're that guy. Because I'm not trying to bring up QB controversy and everything, John. I'm just like, when the Bears are ready, will Justin be here? And I don't want to start nothing. I'm not giving up on the kid. I like the kid. He has I want him to be successful here. But it's like Daniel Jones, the New York media market, they might be thinking he might be a stopgap for them. That's New York media. For me, Daniel Jones was picked high overall a couple years ago. They've been waiting for him to deliver for some time. But for us, I just feel like we're still learning altogether. It's like a clean slate. If we truly take this approach, Danny, like this is his rookie year, then that's what we got to keep that mindset and let him grow. But like, man, like it out of those 5-7 sacks, it was 2 of those sacks where I'm like, you see the blitz coming. Where's the hot route? Throw to the hot route. Why did you throw to the hot route? Like that's what, when somebody blitzes, somebody's open. So like, why aren't you throwing to the open guy? And so that's what I thought about John.
Yeah, I think that to your point, I don't think they're going to give up on Justin Fields after this season. I just can't possibly see that as a scenario at all, specifically because of what they put around him this year. They said, okay, go make a championship team with Equanimeous St. Brown, Dante Pettis, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, and just go win a Super Bowl. So no, I think that you can't even begin to think about that until 2023, depending on what they put around him. But you
shouldn't, John. You shouldn't. Like you shouldn't fire a coach at 10-6 and take you to the playoffs either. You shouldn't. You shouldn't do those things.
I think you're right. Yeah, you're talking about Lovie Smith. I assume.
That thing was done. That thing was done.
But for the parameters, John, you're right. You shouldn't get rid of Justin Fields.
And I don't think this regime looks like it's going to be incredibly patient because they didn't throw a lot of Band-Aids on the roster this year and see if they could throw together a 9-8 record to squeak into the playoffs and then been being cap hell. So I think that this is an ultra patient regime with GM and head coach, and I think there's a very long leash with this GM and this head coach. So they are going to play the long game. Now, clearly, you want your quarterback to be able to take steps forward, and he's not flush with weapons. He doesn't have the Patrick Mahomes situation where he's going to sit behind Alex Smith, have Andy Reid as the head coach, and have Tyreek Hill, and I believe Kareem Hunt was there, and Kelsey and all those other guys. Mm-hmm. Justin Fields was not afforded that luxury. So he's going to have to go through this kind of an up and down year with questionable weapons. And then after this offseason, when they are flush with cash and cap room, and will most likely have some pretty high draft picks, we'll see what they surround him with. And then year 3, can be a Judge year. That can be a year where it's just like, is he getting it done? Is this the guy? But you also can't have him running for his life, and the pass protection can't be this bad. And you got to have some reliable weapons that can go up and make contested catches. So I think that the Bears organization knew exactly what this year was going to be like. Maybe they didn't anticipate that Justin Fields would be running for his life, but
John, they're not saying it. I think we would feel better about it if they actually own that at press conference. Every time you bring a rebuild, they're going to say, no, this is not a rebuild. We're going to compete.
I don't think they want to say that. They want to sell.
You don't want to say that. I mean,
the other guys in the football in the locker room, you can't tell them that they're just kind of basically punting on the season, right? You can't tell them to rebuild.
No, there's a difference between punting on the season and actually just saying, hey, this is where we're at. I mean, this is what you saw the Lions do. This is what you saw the Eagles do 2 years ago. The Eagles, they actually said this 2 years ago. Hey, give us 2 years and we'll be competing at a higher level. Buffalo, Sean McDermott. This is what Sean McDermott said in his opening conference.
Yeah, but I also think you can't go like you can't really. You have to be very careful because you have guys that are on the Bears team right now who are long in the tooth and they don't care about a rebuild, or they might not be part of this team next year. So guys like Robert Quinn, that's the first name that popped in my mind because he's a little older. You can't be like, we're playing for 2023 because the guy that's in there who might not be there in 2023 is going to completely just shut down then. Right. If the team says we're not invested in you this year, then why the hell should I be invested in 2023 when I might not be here? So I think that you got to play that political game a little bit where you got to pander to the guys who have been there and they're wanting to win, and they could potentially be playing for another contract with another team next year, and also fully recognize that this is not a team that's going to compete for a playoff spot. So there's a little bit of go back and forth there. But I think that we not finally, but we know as fans, we may overreact sometimes to it, or we may get pissed off about it, or we maybe get angry about it. But I don't think that there was any misconceptions about that the Bears were going to compete for a Super Bowl this year. I don't think anyone thought that. You can pretend and say that I expect my team to win every game. You don't. You honest to God don't. So let's just actually be realistic for once and say that we knew that this was what the Bears did not have much of hope about playoffs or anything else like that. What we're focused on is progression. And I think that's the irritating part is we're not exactly seeing we're talking about 4 games. It's the first quarter of the season, for God's sakes. But in games 1 through 4, we're not seeing Justin Fields throw it for 300 yards and, 3 touchdowns, maybe 3 picks. I think fans were expecting them to just let Justin Fields loose and toss it for 45 times a game. And maybe he throws 3 picks, but maybe he throws 3 or 3 touchdowns in the process. And that's just not what their game plan is, because they're trying to keep it close enough that they can maybe squeak out some of these games against bad teams. But that's certainly not going to work against Minnesota next week. Danny, is maybe next week where we see a little more of an open concept, because I can't imagine this. Well, maybe it's not, because maybe they're going to try to keep it as close as they possibly can against a good team. So
this is their formula, John. This is, and Tyler, this and guys, the fans, this is their formula. This is how they're going to be competitive and stay in these games, is play sound defense, right? And run the ball. And keep it a 1 or 2 score game here, so they can maybe a play on special teams, a play on defense, or maybe a play by Justin Fields can go ahead and get them a victory, or nudge them ahead on the final scoreboard there. But like, this was a game today, like I totally felt like the Bears needed to score on defense in order to win.
And here's Matt Eberflus. Hopefully the Bears audio is better this week.
How do you get better at that? Defending the Boots team throughout, whether it's in practice, is it more reps? What is it that you?
No, it's just execution. It really is. It's just execution. When you're dealing with the out of the pocket movement passes, it's just execution by the defense, and us coaching it up better.
And on Justin's fumble, I imagine that's a play, given all the things you preach, that's really going to bother you flying out of here. What was your vantage point on that?
Yeah, I would just say, I'd have to look at the tape. I'd be guessing. My vantage point was that I saw it was a fumble. Yeah. And I don't know exactly what happened on that play. I have to go back and look at it for sure.
You're satisfied with the level of chase from your other guys to go get the loose ball there?
Yeah, I have to look at it.
Coach, you talked about the first half, you guys gap integrity, but the second half seemed like you guys was concentrated on Saquon, was enabled Jones to get on the outside. How do you fix that going forward?
Yeah, I think it's just about consistency. We're guys are in the scheme, and we just have to be consistent all the way through the game. And that's going to be something we're going to preach this week and do a better job of, because apparently we're doing some good things in the second half. Obviously, we've all said that, but we have to play 60 minutes, in this league. And again, like we said, we had a chance to tie it at the end. So we were excited about having that opportunity for sure.
What's your evaluation of Justin in the pass game today?
Like I said, I thought it improved. I thought he had a lot of, that's a blitz team. We were playing a blitz team. So I thought he handled that relatively well. But like I said, I love the way he was throwing the ball down the field. That's going to open up some more things for us.
Yeah, we talk about your standards of play and hits and everything like that.
Yeah.
How do you evaluate whether guys are not giving the effort they need to give, or whether certain players just are limited and they're not able to play that well?
I'll have to look at the tape. We're going to obviously focus on, the effort, the intensity, us taking care of the ball, in every aspect of it. And obviously we have to do a better job of that today. I think we came out even. They got one on special teams. We got one on special teams. We got one on defense. They got one on defense. And, they capitalized on the one. So that's basically the game right there. But we have to do a better job with that, because we want to be on the plus side of that. And then to answer your question, I would just say we have to go back and look at every play. We got to take methodical, take every play and say, how can we improve on the principle?
Do you see that the offense it hasn't played well, but do you see that it is headed the right way? And if you think that, then why?
Yeah, I do. I do think that. And I see positivity there in the passing game. I think we ran the ball relatively well today, but I do see progression during practice, and I saw progress today. And it was that's a defense that has a lot of pressure, and we still got the ball down the field, which was a positive to me.
In the second half, you went 3 and out 3 times. I think you went 4 and out once. What do you need to do to get out of that rut? It seems like you guys have fallen into periods of time like that a couple of times.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, and I'll have to go back and look at it, but to me, it's about first down efficiency. When you have first down efficiency and you're doing a great job on first down, it puts you ahead of the sticks. That way, at second down, hey, I got another first down. I don't even get in third down. But when you have a penalty, I know we had one of the holding penalty on one of them, which pushed them first and 20. That always hurts you. It's just hard to dig out of that. It just really is. And we've done a solid job with that, but when that happens, it's always hard.
Do you have a sense for what fundamentally got away from Bayless on that punt return and causing this?
I don't. I know there was wind up there. It's swirling around a little bit because of the rain bands and all that. But it comes down to being under the football, okay, squeezing your elbows, okay, and then tucking it, high tucking it. So, I'd have to go back and look and see exactly what happened.
When you view the decision to punt, you defended it in your opening statement. Do you view that as successful, given that you guys then forced the punt out of that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that was great. To me, that was we banged the timeouts when we were supposed to. We let the other one go because we had the 2 minute. We were going to get the ball above 2 minute with a timeout at midfield because I believe the punter out-kicked the coverage a little bit. We had Bayless Jones back there. I mean, we had great blocking. There was a wide space for us to be able to return that ball to midfield, and now got to drive there to be able to score, like I said, and tie with the 2 point.
With Cody Whitehair, you guys ruled him out very quickly. Is that an ACL or what's going on with him?
Yeah, it's a knee right now. So we're going to go back and look at it, and we'll assess that, and we'll get that to you as soon as we got it.
You're 3rd and 3 at the 5. You get a 1 yard run from Bergman, 4th and 2 at the 4, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
What is the thought process in the conversation that goes on about whether to go forward or whether to keep on?
Yeah, those are all numbers that we have going into the game. So, if we were going to go, we were going to go. And if we were going to kick it, we were going to kick it. You always got to look at the score. You got to look at the time of the game and the score. And that's constant conversation that I'm having upstairs and with Getsy the whole time. When he's going, when he's not going. A lot of those times it doesn't work out. I'm saying, hey, we're going on 4th and inches. Hey, we're going on 4th and 3 or better or less. That's all happening during the course of the game. And a lot of times, sometimes that happens. And sometimes we don't get to that situation. We end up punting. But
a lot of times when teams run on that 3rd down situation, it's usually because they've decided to
no doubt. When you're in that quad zone there, that's no doubt. That's exactly what you're getting there. And teams that do that across the league.
And how have you been splitting your time between offense and defense? And is that something you're going to change now because of how the offense is struggling?
No, I've split my time pretty much equally. I'm in the quarterback room a lot. I'm with the defense. I do it kind of, in a rhythm of the week, where I spend a lot of time with each position. So I get a chance to spend time with each position on the team.
Is there anything that can be done to jumpstart an offense to take advantage of when you do get a takeaway and turn that opportunity into something? Because obviously the two today didn't really amount to much.
Yeah, I mean, it's just about, creating momentum, and it's all about getting chunk plays. If you can create chunk plays, that's when you score, and that's what happens. You look at any scoring drive in the NFL this week, I'll guarantee it had some type of chunk play in there that scored. Very rarely you methodically go down the field not having an explosive play. Run a 16 or a pass of 20, however you want to define your explosives, but certainly that's a key to it.
On pass plays, is Justin seeing what you want him to see? It feels like he's pulling it down and running a lot. And I'm curious from your perspective if that is appropriate or if he's doing the right stuff.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the tape and for specific examples that you're talking about. If you're going to talk about a specific play, I have to look at that for sure.
Thank you.
Good.
All right. Anyone else coming in?
So that was head coach Matt Eberflus. My immediate takeaway is it only took about four games before we get the dreaded. We got to go back and look at the tape response for almost everything. Whenever someone puts your feet to the fire on something, we got to go back and look at the tape. We are officially at that part of the year where someone pushes something on you. Got to look at the tape. Sorry, I got to look at the tape. Got to see the tape. One thing that I thought was interesting was, and before I make this point, there was I think T. Rick made this comment about the announcer saying this is the kind of style that Bears fans wanted to see. And I agree. When I first heard that, I was like, I don't think this is what Bears fans want to see. I don't think Bears fans want to see, just run the ball and then be ultra conservative and then try to make defensive plays. That worked, 40, 50 years ago. It's not going to work in 2022. But my point is, or my question was, and I'm going to send this to both of you, Fields is, for one reason or another, whether it's, no one's getting open or the pass protection is breaking down, he is taking off. Is there any fear that if he keeps doing that, because he did take some licks today, some of them late and some of them within the whistles, is there any fear that this kid could get hurt at some point if he keeps pulling down the ball and running with it? Danny, I'll start with you, and then Gaines jump in right after he's done.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I mean, like, I don't know, for whatever reason, when Fields goes down, defenders just like taking shots at him. And so today, again, McFadden took a shot at him when he tried to, he got a 15-yard penalty. But it's like, no, if it's not that, it's going to be, he's going to get an ankle rolled on, or he's going to get his knee twisted in a certain way. Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal that you don't want to see your quarterback taking hits all the time. Now, I do love him when things break down, to be able to, scamper and get the first down with his legs. And because that is a backbreaker for defenders, especially if, third and 6, 3rd and 7, and you cover him pretty damn well. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, these guys running up the field on you for 7, 8 yards. He's got a first down. But I want to see him either get down early where he doesn't get touched, or just simply run out of bounds after you secure the first down. Don't try and lower your shoulder, run anybody over. You're a quarterback. You're not a running back. Let's go ahead and get that done too. So, but the other thing that worries me, John, is I don't want it to retard his progress, right? I want him to be able to get back there and go through a progression for whatever reason, like touched on a little bit earlier, whether it's the lack of faith in his pass pro, especially on the inside, or if it's, the fact that he doesn't think his receivers are going to get open on the outside. He's got to go through a progression. He's got to learn through because what happens is he looks like, at least from my vantage point, he's going through his 1, maybe 2 reads, and then he does it just like he feels some pressure and he's leaving the pocket, either trying to make a play on his own, or he's trying to buy some time. But sometimes when he rolls out to buy some time, it just then that kind of puts the offensive lineman, the blocker, the tackle, or whatnot, in a bad predicament, because then the defender can go ahead and just kind of release or shut the blocker and get to field. So it's a catch-22, if you will. You want him to kind of be able to extend plays and make plays with his feet, but also you want him to kind of stay also within the confines of the offense as well. So I think that's why this coaching staff is trying to harp on him. Make plays from the pocket, stay there. But I think my fear is I think the pass pro, all the hits. We kind of harp on a number of sacks, but guys, the knockdowns, the hits that are not sacks, those hurt too, right? And I think those might be catching up to him. And I think he's just 1, 2, bam, and he's trying to make things on his own. And I think that's what's going to slow down his progression until he starts trusting his offensive line, his blocking, and maybe just start throwing the ball up there. You're going to throw interceptions. Peyton Manning threw 27 interceptions as a rookie, right? So you're going to throw interceptions if you're trying to make plays, especially if you have guys on the outside who are not really playmakers. And correct me if I'm wrong, other than Mooney or Velus Jones, every other receiver on this roster either has been cut or released by the previous team. So that's the thing. It's like, you don't have the talent out there. You're asked to make plays. It's just sometimes you might have to take like the easy play as opposed to just trying to make things on your own. So, and just don't lose your confidence and stay on the stay on attack here at Justin Fields.
John, to answer your question, it's football. I mean, you're in the most important position on offense. Please be safe. I mean, with all the safety protocols, we know what those hits can do to you long term, post your NFL career. But then in game, I mean, Lamar Jackson. This is a guy I'm a treat to, somebody who's probably about to reset the QB market. Play to your strengths. When you play scared, that's actually how you get hurt, when you play scared. And so today, I saw his pocket presence was kind of better. He actually did his little Russell Wilson spin around, and that was actually kind of cool to see. And it's just not instead of just taking a hit. So when reporters question why is he running, like, bro, be quiet. What are you talking about? He's not getting sacked. Hell yeah, run the ball. What are you talking about? He moved the chains today. And even though we were on third downs, I think we completed like 3 or 4, maybe 3 for sure, third and longs, which was really refreshing to see. And some of those came off the grid of the quarterback. We don't question some of these marquee guys when they do it. I'm not going to question Justin. We want him to develop. He's getting like just in-time game awareness, and that's only going to come from, you got to get dirty.
Yeah, and I understand that you shouldn't be scared to run the ball. My concern would be, are you looking to run the ball while there could be somebody 50 yards down the field wide open? And right. I think that although I think it was the first half when he converted on that 3rd and 10, and obviously you just want to keep the chains moving. And I think that if there was another half second to be had there, Darnell Mooney might have been open down the middle of the field, right. And then it keeps him from taking a hit. I think Justin Fields absolutely should run the ball, because if you have that God-given speed, you should be using it. I don't think we should be saying that Justin Fields needs to be a pocket passer and just stay in there and hang tough. Absolutely, he should use his legs. What I just don't want to see is he's under so much pressure all the time that he just puts his head down and just takes off and runs. And right. Like Danny said, stunts that growth to continue to scan the field whenever things are breaking down. But when things are breaking down as often as they are, it's not as easy to much easier said than done. Is that something that you can kick out of somebody, Danny? If this is a guy who's just if it's a one back, because I think the biggest fear right now is if he's running for his life and the pass protection's bad and people aren't getting open, that he's going to be wrecked by the time they actually get some help around him in 2023. Is this something that he can work out of once as things as reinforcements come in, I guess?
That's my biggest concern, John, is not to wreck this kid's confidence, not to wreck this kid's aggressiveness, right? And the one thing that play right there you touched on, and again, the all 22 will give us a better idea. But it looks like if he had just stayed in, I know he converted into a first down, but if he just stayed in that pocket, maybe a split second, 2 seconds, you can see Darnell Mooney on that post, see him coming down right open and with no one around him in the middle of the field. So if he stays on his read, that's what I'm talking about. He sees 1, 2, bam, and he drops his read. He doesn't go through his full progression. And then he looks to either bail or make something on his own. And that's what I don't want him to get into a habit of. And I think that's what the coaching staff is trying to do in terms of just making him a pocket passer. And we're not trying to tell him not to use your legs, or because that, like I said, John, that is a added element that you want to have in that quarterback. That is today's NFL quarterback. We just want him to kind of not, give up on a play real quick. Again, it's easier said than done, right? Easier said to sit there, have confidence in an offensive line that you keep getting battered behind every time. And I think that's what my problem is right now is let's try and secure that middle of that offensive line as best as we can, because that pressure in his face, that's coming, he has no chance. And I think that is leading to some of this 1, 2, read, bam, out of there. Let's run for my life here. And I think that's what's kind of bogging down this passing attack. I think, again, the weapons on the outside, you kind of limit it there. We all know that. We're kind of rehashing the story, but it's like when there are open guys downfield, I think he's bailed on those plays a little bit too on that read or that progression a little bit too early because of the coverage or the pressure he's feeling up front. So the quicker they can secure, especially that interior off the offensive line, give him a little bit of a security blanket in that pocket. I think he kind of sits there a little bit longer. And now he goes through his progressions. And again, if you see one-on-one coverage, you read it post-snap, you see it or pre-snap, you see one-on-one coverage, and then post-snap it develops that way. Throw it up to your guy. Let's see what happens. Let them make a play. St. Brown 6'4". Pettis dropped one today, but you know what? Give him a shot. Go up there and make another play. You never know what's going to happen. We've seen Mooney, make sensational, plays, go up and battle for the football. You're just going to have to trust your guys. You may throw picks or you may not. But at this point, you're limited offensively. You're behind a spotty, weak offensive line. You got to make plays, and just tucking and running every time is going to get you hurt sooner or later. So let's just throw it up there and see what happens, in my opinion.
Just to follow up on that real quick, Danny, if Cody Whitehair is hurt for a considerable amount of time, do they go sign someone, or they just elevate someone off the practice squad, or what? What does the offensive line look like if Cody Whitehair, who we haven't really thought, we've talked about Tevin Jenkins and Lucas Patrick and what's happening with center with Mustipher and how those things could be moved around a little bit. If Cody Whitehair is out for an extended amount of time, then what happens?
Right. Well, today we saw Lucas Patrick get in there and play left guard once Whitehair went down. And you know what, guys, I know it's something that maybe it might be a better thing to do. Put him at left guard, Patrick, and let Tevin Jenkins kind of swing to swim at right guard. Now, if we continue to see Jenkins, I think I like the way he comes off the football as a run blocker. Right. I think I like the way this offensive line comes off the football as run blocking unit. But it's like that pass pro. It's got to get better. So if Jenkins is not going to cut it there at right guard, bring in Schofield. We have the veteran Schofield sign out. He's in there today. And maybe you have to kick in Riley Reef. I know he's your swing tackle right now, but maybe you have to kick him in either at guard, right, or left guard. So I think Patrick will get the first shot. Eberflus said it was a knee when he initially kind of let it slip. I think he said it was an ACL. So we don't know if it's a torn ACL, if it's if it's just a sprained ACL. We'll see what the results come back with. But if he's out for a prolonged or for the season, then I think they're going to give Patrick that shot at left guard first, and then they got guys like Michael Schofield and maybe bring up a guy from the practice squad.
Tyler, what about Cole Kmet? Because this is a guy that had obviously a lot of hype, we should say, coming out of camp. And today, he was targeted quite a few times. He had 3 catches for 16 yards. Is this the guy? Oh, before we go to that, let's go to Justin Fields, who is talking to the media right now.
Yeah, the first one, just a one-on-one matchup with Mooney. Thought the line did a great job protecting on that. And then the second one, I thought the DN was going to go out and match Cole, so that's why I kind of tried to tuck it in. But next time I'll just, outside and back outside the goal.
Justin, where were you going to go on the play where you fumbled? Where were your eyes on that one, and what were you hoping would come open there?
EQ was coming across. I think that was going to be a big play. We would head up a little bit longer, but happens, and I think this is just a line for the lesson. If you don't, or a lesson for the O line, if you don't hear a whistle blown, you don't know if it's incomplete. Of course, the guys thought it was incomplete, so you really can't blame them on that. But just playing the whole play out, and I was just going to hit EQ.
Did your elbow get hit, or was your side? I couldn't tell from.
I was just about to throw it, and knocked up.
Can you pinpoint what some of the issues were that were stopping you guys up in the red zone?
A lot of stuff. I think the main thing was just execution. Of course, every red zone drive is different, but I felt like we did a good job driving the ball, getting to the red zone, but I think we just got to capitalize when we get down there and score 7.
Do you think the pass game took a step today, even if it wasn't as big of a step as you would have wanted?
I think it did. Of course, there's always room to improve, but I definitely think it did.
What's lacking the most right now in the passing game from your vantage point?
I think we just got to be more consistent. Whether it's me, whether it's the O line, whether it's the receivers. Some plays where all on the same page, we're all executing great, and then some plays we aren't. So the biggest thing with that is just consistency.
Do you feel the pass protection was today?
Just like I said, it was consistent. Sometimes, like there were some plays where I was just hanging out back there. I mean, nobody was around me. So I think the guys did a good job on some plays, and there were other plays where they could have been a little bit better. And then also me with some of the protection adjustments, I could have done that better. And just as a whole, we could have been better.
How do you feel physically? We saw you limp off at halftime after you took a hit, and then on the gadget play there at the very end, it looks like they got a pretty good shot at it.
Yeah, I feel better than last week, so I'm solid.
Are you conscious of the fact that you can only probably take so much of that over the course of the season?
Yeah, for sure. I think I've done a good job compared to last year, taking way less hits. I mean, my body feels way better than after the games last year, for sure.
But even it's not necessarily up to you. I mean, even you can make good decisions and still get hit.
Yeah, I mean that's football at the end of the day. I mean, you're gonna get hit, so it is what it is.
So do you feel like you have to do a better job avoiding hits or no?
Like when? and scrambling, sliding. Third down. To be honest with you, I got to get the first down. Like it's football. The first down. Be smart. Try to not take as many hits, and then of course when you get sacked, you can't control that. But third downs. I'm gonna do all I can, protect the ball. Try to go get the first down, whether it's me getting hit or whatever, and then first and second down for sure. Just being smart, not taking hits.
That was Justin Fields at the podium. Obviously, incredibly happy to talk with the media there. So I like one of the comments we saw that he needs an anger translator. Some quick take.
I don't like that. I don't like that answer though. I mean, I understand what he's coming from in terms of if it's third down, I'm going to do whatever I can to get the first down. Okay, I understand. I get that. You got the warrior mentality, whatnot, but dude, you need to protect yourself. I mean, you're the future of this franchise. You need to be smart about it, right? If you need to get out of bounds real quick or stretch the ball out on the sidelines and just make sure you don't get take on a linebacker. I think that's what I would prefer to see him do. I don't want to see him lower his shoulder and take on linebackers or anything like that.
Gaines, what did you take out of Justin Fields talking there? He's very direct. You can tell that he hates to lose, and even more hates talking to the media once they lose. So, what do you take out of that?
I'm very happy I don't have a soft quarterback. I'm happy that he's angry about losing. That shows Jay Cutler you could never tell if he cared or not. And so with Justin right there, he has a warrior. That's what's up. I respect that, and I think Chicago is going to respect that. He says it's third down. What do you mean? I got to get the first down. And so that's what you want. Kids dream of playing in the NFL. They dream of making millions of dollars, and that is a sacrifice that comes with that. And so he's like, I'm going to go get this first down. Please be smart, slide. I mean, there's so many rules in place to protect the quarterback. And I think he's going to make a good case for himself going forward as he leads that going forward. And then even after that, just sliding. He's not going head first, but he's not soft. I'm down with that. That's what's up. That's what we need here in Chicago. Somebody who's going to get the first down. He's trying to win games. And if he would have said something opposite, I would have an issue with it.
No, and I can respect his willingness to try to keep moving the chains and keep trying to win. And so, I mean, that's the mentality you want in your quarterback. And I hope that mentality will eventually progress into they're able to turn that into something special. I think that's what all Bears fans want. I think all Bears fans want a consistent, stable offense that can probably come back and win if they're down 14 points, or they can put up 35 points if they need to. So we'll see. I mean, I think it's tough to just say that this this A, B, and C are going to happen. I think you have to let the season play out, because you have to look at this thing as a whole rather than just saying, oh, look what they did against the Giants in week 4, or look what they did against the Niners in week 1. I think you have to look at this as a whole, and we're not there yet. And I know we're impatient. We want to get there. I'm impatient. I want as many answers as I can, but we're probably not going to get them right now, and even short-term answers like who's going to play offensive guard whenever if and when depending on what Cody Whitehair's injuries are. Danny, I kind of cut you short on that, but what are some of the more of the possibilities there at guard?
Yeah, just kind of look at the Bears depth chart, and there's a name that kind of made a before the season it was kind of put out there where the Bears made a claim on him, and that's Alex Leatherworth. I know he was dealing with a non-football related injury. Was put on IR. I believe he's going to be back eligible week 5. So keep an eye on that guy. If they kind of work him in at right guard, see what goes there with him. I know they initially started him off at right tackle, so maybe they swing Barroom inside. There's a couple possibilities there as well. And another guy to keep in mind is they made a claim and signed him to the practice squad is this rookie Kellen Deach from Arizona State. He's a 6'7" athletic offensive lineman. Played left tackle, played right tackle at Arizona State, but his future is inside a guard, and he's another athletic kid that he might get elevated from the practice squad. He could probably come in and help fill in the void. If you finally determine that Patrick is going to be a center, and God, I hope he's a better center than a guard, because so far I haven't been really impressed with Lucas Patrick in terms of his play at guard. But hopefully it comes in, and if he solidifies center, and then we get one. And if it's just assuming again Whitehair is gone for the season or a prolonged injury, bring one of these younger kids, or if you get the veteran Schofield in there as well to kind of hopefully solidify that interior. Again, that interior for me is right now is getting pushed over in terms of pass protection, right? They're just really allowing guys, a lot of leaks in there coming in. We saw today with the Giants running those stunts with their linebackers, those dog blitzes, and they're getting twice. They got, scot-free. No one touched the linebacker and got straight to Justin Fields. So, protect that interior of the offensive line. Hopefully give Justin the confidence to go ahead and stick in there a little bit longer, go through his progressions, and then we start making some plays down the football field. And that's when we're going to start seeing progress. Because, I know defenses usually come around quicker than offenses, but I mean, this defense is, other than that atrocious first half where they just couldn't, for some reason, set the edge on the running game there. They rebounded. They gave us an opportunity to win this game. And if we get anything in terms of a passing attack, any competency in a passing game, I think this team is going to be, very, very much more competitive than I think any three of us, I should take it back. Besides what Tyler had, these guys going, winning division title and everything like that. So they'll be more competitive than what John and I thought for initially. So.
Well, I'm glad you said that because, Gaines, I want to bring you back on before we start wrapping things up here. Tell me why the Bears can beat the Vikings next week, because I need someone to pump me up, man. I need some positivity here.
I mean, because they lost to the Colts, right?
Well, if we're going to deductive reasoning, but yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying they lost to the Colts, the same coach that tied to the Houston Texans, and so, but the same reason why Andy Dalton almost beat them today. I mean, with the full fledged, and so that was without Alvin Kamara. Why are we going to be? John, I can't pull anything out, bro. I don't know. The Vikings are relentless. They're relentless in the pass rush. Their DBs are hella physical, and they're gonna come off the ground like ready to run block. And they have a three-headed monster in the backfield. And Adam Thielen, it's going to be a good exercise for our DBs. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, the Vikings, they pull out that win against the Saints in London today. They beat the Lions only by 4. The week before they got smoked by the Eagles the week before that, and then of course they laid it on the Packers in week 1. So they're a little up and down as well. But whenever you're putting them side by side, it's obvious who has more talent on their roster. The Vikings have aspirations of going to the playoffs. If there was ever a time where I wanted the Bears to play in primetime, it would be against Kirk Cousins. But unfortunately, they're not going to be playing. They're not going to be playing on prime time. So I don't want to keep recycling the same things over and over again. We appreciate everybody that's in the chat room bringing their questions and comments. But we know what this is, so let's just start going around and wrapping things up, and then we can start doing some of the tape analysis and breaking down the next game and do what we do best here in the Barroom Network throughout the week. So let's go around. Gaines, let's start with you, and then we'll go to Danny, and then I'll take us home. Final thoughts and things that are cooking.
Final thoughts, Bears Nation. Have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. I'm actually just finished in the middle of the moving process, so pardon the background and everything. Next week, I will actually be gone at a leadership conference in St. Louis, Missouri, in the same stadium that the Rams used to play in. I'll be in a room about 20,000 entrepreneurs, getting some millionaire thought process, and so I will be gone. But please come in because the guys will be holding it down. And besides that, I'm just looking for us to get better. Every week is a winnable game. And so I'm looking to see, I trust my coaches. And so that's where my faith is at in this thing. This definitely feels better than last year, John. Thank God for no word soup. At least Matt Ebrooks is going to be transparent with us. And I'm riding down with my coaches for the time being. And then besides that, got some exciting things coming up, but just stay tuned on the Barroom Network. Danny?
Yeah, as far as, final thoughts for me, I mean, again, we touched on it, an ugly game. It could have gone either way. They could have won this game just as easy as they lost this game. Now, next week, this is going to be a team that could put up some points on you. The Vikings can put some points on you. And this is where, John, we touched on it earlier, like that. This is where the Bears may need Fields and the passing attack to put some, counterbalance that and put some points on the board. So can they do that? I didn't feel confident that they were going to score today, to be honest with you, even though we saw some positive in terms of getting the ball down the field, sustaining some drives. But unfortunately, when they got into the red zone, they converted only field goals. So, if they improve there, put some touchdowns instead of field goals there, trade those off, I think then you can see it. But the one thing with the Vikings, though, they have those two guys at the edge, Zadarius Smith and then Danielle Hunter coming off the edge as well. I think what you do with this team or how you attack them is you just run the ball like they've been doing now, and just kind of work off of that. And I've been saying this for 5 weeks now. It's just play action, play action, build your passing game off of the play action. We got to see how Cody Whitehair comes back in terms of, is he out? Is he going to play? Is he going to play at less than 100%? You got to secure the inside of the offensive line and give Justin some protection there, make some plays down the field. So, it going into this game, it's going to look, doesn't look too good for the Bears in terms of them being able to come back out, but they've surprised us before. So defensively, Kirk Cousins will give you the opportunity to make the play on the football, get some turnovers going there. If you keep it close and then just 1 or 2 big plays from the passing attack, I think you can then pull out a victory out of Minnesota. But just kind of heading in there, it does look like it might be a L coming here. But never know. We'll see.
All right, guys. My final thoughts are, rebuilds are hard, man. Rebuilds are hard on the players. They're hard on the fans. They're hard on broadcasters. Listen, I'm sorry to a lot of our listeners and viewers today. Normally, I am the hellfire and brimstone energy trying to bellow out. But you know what? When you're watching this team and you know what they are and you know what the aspirations are and you know that you really can't be super pumped for this team until potentially next September, it's hard to just scream and yell and anger. Yeah, we're frustrated. I'm frustrated. I'm pissed that they lost. But I'm trying to not let myself get overreactive to it. I'm trying to not put my mental health at risk because they lost to the Giants in week 4. Neither one of those teams are going anywhere. So it's tough on everyone to have to watch a year that I believe was necessary. I'm not saying they should have just threw a bunch of patchwork things together and maybe try to squeak into that 7th seed like they did a couple years ago and then get blown out in the first round. I don't want that. I want a solid, consistent franchise, which I think we've been asking for the better part of 40 years now. But this is a necessary yet really sucky situation for the Chicago Bears because it's going to be a tough season to watch. It's a tough style to watch. So it kind of drains your energy a little bit, but we're going to try to keep that energy up right here on the Barroom Network. The programming galore throughout the entire week. Buffon 55 will be back on Wednesday to break down that Vikings game. We'll have somebody that covers the Minnesota Vikings to talk about what could be some of the weaknesses that the Bears could attack and potentially take advantage of and maybe pull up a fantastic upset next week. So we'll see. We'll start being a little more positive as the week goes on, but that will do it for this edition of Bear Football. Danny, final thought that you want to jump in?
I did have a question for you, John, and I feel you in terms of the kind of like the letdown in terms of, but see, for me, this whole season was about Justin Fields and this offense progressing, right? So the question for you is, would you feel this way if Justin Fields is throwing for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns in a game, but the Bears are still losing? Or is it because you're not seeing the progress being made there, and the fact that they're losing, is that what's really kind of the double whammy for you? Because for me, it's all about Justin Fields.
Yeah. If I'm gonna be 100% honest, if the Bears were 1-3, but Justin Fields was consistently throwing for 300 yards, I think we'd probably have a different demeanor. And I'm not saying that that's the right demeanor, but I'm thinking Bears fans and me in particular, I can only speak for myself, but if Justin Fields was lighting it up and they're losing, 35-32, or they're losing, 29-24, and it's a shootout on a lot of these things, we probably are having different conversations because you feel a lot better about the next 10 to 15 years at the quarterback position. Whereas right now there's still a lot of questions. And that's not all just because of Justin Fields' play. That's obviously because of the things that are around him, whether it's the pass protection, the play calling, or the skill position players. But yeah, if they were putting up a bunch of points and Justin Fields was slinging it all around, I'd probably be feeling a lot different right now. Right. But it is what it is. And we just have to, we can't make it anything that it's not. So we gotta keep watching and analyzing and just keep digesting this season. And like I said, look at it holistically. And for all of you people that cannot get enough Bears content, make sure you tune into the Barroom Network. Basically every single day we got Bears content for you. So that will do it for Bear Football. Thank you for joining us, whether you're joining us through YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter, the video version, the audio version, the podcast version, however you are listening or watching us. We appreciate each and every one of you sticking it out with us throughout this Chicago Bears football season. For Tyler Gaines Ellis and Danny Shimon, I'm John Buffone. We'll see you next time.